Dalton, so good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to ask you something off the bat, and I hope it's okay that I bring up your wife here. But
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Would you agree with the quote, "Behind every great man is a great woman"?
100%.
100%.
I don't think you can disagree with that, personally.
No, I mean,
I'm sure someone will, but I doubt it.
they better watch out.
It.
Not on this show. Everyone sitting here is like, honey, see, he said it. Like,
yeah. For sure. Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, thanks for being here. You guys, if you don't know what we're going over today, today we're kind of talking about podcasting and confidence and hosting a show. And Dalton, tell me a little bit about your show.
So, absolutely. So the Thinking Project, and it's so funny that you asked that question the first time, because I think my show wouldn't be anywhere without my wife. She does an amazing job helping me on the back end of things, get things set up and help with guests. And, she was there when you came, helped us take pictures. She helps with everything. So she's amazing. And then as far as like my show, it's a place for everybody to go. But mainly it's for those people who want to be business owners, and who are in like the first 5 years of their business, because those are the hardest times for startups.
Yeah.
Like getting going and then staying going. Because if you can make it in business, after those first 5 years, you got a good plan. You know what I mean? You can be solid. So that's what this podcast aims to do. And it aims to do it in a really different way. Like, I didn't want to be like another entrepreneur guru, like whatever that means. And I didn't really want to give a lot of tips and tricks, because you can find those anywhere. I really cared about the story behind the people who are in business, who started the business, because that's what people really, I feel like I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? I didn't really care about, when I listen to podcasts, like all the stuff you can do, because we can learn that. But like, hearing somebody tell a really cool story, and, they sound like you, they look like you, they live near you, you know what I mean? That's different. And that's what I wanted to do with the show.
I love it. Very Gary V of you, in my opinion. And that's actually what I like about a lot of those shows is people are getting into the nitty gritty. And I really love when celebrities come up and they're like, hey, I was at these clubs and sometimes I wouldn't even have money to drink or anything. I just hang out with people as if I did, but I was only there to work. I was only there to perform. And now look at me. And those are the real stories. Because I think a lot of people, and actually let me kind of throw caution in the wind when I say this, they don't start something until they're ready. And sometimes you got to get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. I had a story one time where that's exactly what the story was. I felt stuck. I didn't know what I was going to do. And all I heard, in my head, and what I felt I was being told to do was like, just move. Like, you just need to do something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's kind of like momentum. Like, you kind of figure stuff out as you get going, and not to say that business plans are bad or planning is bad, but sometimes you can only plan for so much. Sometimes, like, I always have one plan, because I know it's just not, I know it's not always going to work out. You're just going to have to figure it out as you go sometimes. So you just got to get going.
Yeah. And so that brings me to my next question. What was that like aha moment for you that you were like, because this is very giving of you. This is very like, this is your time. This is your money. You're doing all the scheduling. You're in the grunt of it, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was that flip for you that you're like, I'm going to host?
I've always had a passion. I've always really liked talking to people and interviewing people. I really I care more about the story than I think a lot of other people do in like the startup world, you know. At least from the podcast that I've listened to, they do a lot of like tips and tricks and stuff. And so what really hit it for me and why I started this whole thing in the first place was during the pandemic. It was like March or something, and it was really hit, and businesses weren't advertising. Everybody was kind of constricting. And I know that for a small business owner, the hardest part about advertising is how do you get your story out there? You know what I'm saying? Like you work for a digital marketing company, and that's what we do around branding. That's what branding means. It's your story.
Exactly.
It's your, you know what I mean? It's you. How do we get you in front of people authentically?
Yeah.
And since people were kind of restricting on advertising, especially like the small guys, they wanted to do it more organically and more by referral. I wanted to give them a place to sit down and tell their story. You know, I always say people won't listen to, like, I don't watch TV or listen to the radio that often. I listen to one station, and that's because my homie hosts on U92. But other than that, I don't listen to any TV or radio. But and if you do, it's hard for you. Like a radio ad is like maybe 30 seconds long, maybe a minute, right?
Yeah.
A TV commercial, if you decide to even pay for a TV commercial, is like a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
30 seconds, minute and a half. So, but people will listen to a podcast for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, whatever. See what I'm saying?
Especially if they're really interested in that person and what they do and finding more out about it.
Yeah. So that's where it all came from. I was like, oh, why don't we just sit down and tell stories and, you know, and hear these cool people get what they really want out there. And, you know, I always feel when we're telling a story, even like an hour isn't long enough, but you at least get to start the feel. And that's why people buy from businesses, you know. Usually it's for support. If you're in the small business game, if you're in the local game, we buy from you because we know you, because we like you, because we like your story, things like that, right?
Yeah. I like what you're doing, and
it's sweet. And we've had a lot of moms on there, mompreneurs, whatever you want to call them.
I don't know.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know who you got. You're good. No, you're good.
Like, I don't know if the Lego lady is a mom, but her story, I was so cool. Sucked into that one.
It was cool. That was like, you're always a little nervous when you interview somebody. And I was a little nervous on that one because I was like, are we going to have a lot to talk about? And she blew me out of the water.
Yeah. She
killed it. I mean, she was one of the best episodes we did.
Yeah, really.
It was cool.
So when I was going through that one, I was really thinking to myself how neat it is to listen to people's stories and hear how the history of things have changed just from their experience. And one of the things she mentioned was like working in the industry. Legoland used to hire people you couldn't be a big Lego fan to work there. Yeah. That was one of their things. And then they realized like, oh, we messed up. We need to bring in Lego fans. So I love that it was like the entrepreneur, like her story, but at the same time, you also get to take away what bigger businesses like Legoland learned from their own mistakes, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And that was cool. And she had to, I think it's been a minute since I've even listened to that one, but she had to apply 7, 8, or 9 times. Like she had to apply quite a bit to get there. And then when she got a job, she started out below anybody. Yeah. And they weren't nice to her. She's a woman in the industry. Like, I know. And so hearing those like resilient stories too. And now she's like one of 10. Her Legos were in that Hidden Figures. Her Lego structures are in the new movie on Netflix, the new Christmas movie on Netflix. She killed it. She killed it. Yeah. She's awesome. That's and again, imagine if you didn't start something like that. I would have never heard that story. Right. Yeah. I don't think I would have. Well, No. It's a tough one. You wouldn't, and people, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about, for me, it wasn't about like, that episode wasn't like, how do I become a master Lego artist, right? It was hearing like, holy cow, dude, if she can do that, then there's something I can do. You know what I mean? Then maybe I can start on my own thing, right? Maybe I don't have to do Legos, but the story, it was bigger than Legos. It was like, she did it. She applied, you know, a lot of times, nine times, 8, 9 times. She started at the bottom. She kept going. That was the meaning of it. And I really believe that people can get to that point mentally if they, if they let go of some ego, if they get some confidence. People can, you might not be a Lego artist, but you might be something different. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, oh, completely. And you need to have that confidence in yourself to take that step. In all honesty,
Oh yeah.
if she didn't blame like oh, I didn't get accepted. She didn't just leave that blame with like out in the open. Like she didn't blame herself. She wasn't like, oh, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
This, that. Like she kept going with that and eventually paid
Yeah.
off. And we,
Oh yeah, man.
a lot of those success stories. I kept bugging the business owner, or I kept asking for this opportunity, and
yeah.
so
Yeah. It was sweet. It was a good one.
I kind of want to touch on your so your confidence to kind of start this. So were you hosting anything before this, or what were you doing?
No, I wasn't. But I'd always wanted to like interview people, and like in my sales job, you get to interview people. You're essentially interviewing people. Like, you have to figure out, get the stories out of them, and so it really, for me, my background in like sales and negotiations, I mean, fit really nicely into podcasting, because that's what we're doing. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? If I want to get a story out of you, I kind of got to coax it, especially since now there's some walls up, you got a microphone in front of you, there's a camera rolling, you see a bunch of equipment, you know what I'm saying? And that can be sometimes intimidating for people. And so for me as a host, and for you as a host, right? I mean, you gotta like help people, even though like I'm like the nicest dude, they're the nicest person,
You've
all
gotta,
that
like,
stuff can be kind of,
it somehow.
yeah, and you gotta break down walls, because that, a lot of people have those walls that are just subconsciously there, like they don't even realize they're putting them on, but you do. And so how do you break those down? And it's just an art, talking to people is just an art that I love to work on, and podcasting is very natural and it's fun.
And I kind of, so I want to pick this out because before you said that you were a little nervous doing the Lego interview, and I don't know if you ever, because like I do on my own show, but especially like when I go on your show, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I saying? Like, what am I? And we have those little confidence breakdowns, like even when you've been doing it and you've been doing it for a long time. And just to kind of add some value for anybody who is struggling with something like that. I have a friend who, she couldn't even like call the pizza guy. It was so bad. Like she was just very shy, adorable, little reserved. And then she started waitressing. She really didn't have a choice. She really needed the money. She realized like how fast like waiters are coming home with like $100 tips a night sometimes. And so she started waitressing, and it just, the 3 months just waitressing completely got her out of her shell. Now she's doing her own business, and has her own little niche, but like she fully credits waitressing to pushing her comfort out of that. Cause I'll be honest, and kind of going back to the Lego lady, it would have broke my confidence. Like if I know at like 20 years old that I had been dreaming of this job and working towards this and did everything they asked me to do and applied for this and they denied me, I would have been really kicked down at that age. It definitely took me time to get to where I was at, and definitely putting myself in. I did door-to-door sales solar. Like my confidence, I used to be so bad. I used to go on stage as like with the choir group, And I swear I'd almost pee my pants. Like,
Dude,
we can have another
it's
kid.
scary. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of the times you don't even have to sing.
Yeah. For real.
All the choir kids are like, "You're the one
Yeah.
who hated in class, Desiree."
Yeah.
You
Sure.
have to sing. But no, I guess I just wanted to kind of touch base on like that you don't always need that confidence at first. Sometimes it's
Oh,
the job that you
well,
didn't even expect to kind of push
yeah.
you to where you needed to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think confidence, in fact, I wrote a little article about this because it's something that I love a lot. And I can just trace almost everything back to two things, whether it's confidence, success, happiness, whatever, all those things are about acceptance and not control. And I think I don't know if we talked about this, but it's something I say a lot. Um, that it's about acceptance and not control. Because look, you have bad days. There's bad days. There's scarier gigs. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I go and talk to somebody, and I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, it doesn't matter how many times we step into an interview. Like, I'm always a little nervous.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to go. You never know what they're going to say, you know. And so it's a little nerve wracking. So that's why I always say confidence is about acceptance and not control. Happiness is about acceptance and not control. Just realizing, like, okay, like, I'm feeling this right now. Cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It doesn't, like, people associate those feelings of, nervousness, scared, like that, as a sign to stop doing something, right? And when we were, hunter gatherers, that was a good thing. But
Yeah.
we don't need to worry about that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, I just tell people, like, if you're scared, if you're nervous, like, that's okay. You can be scared, you can be nervous. I take a deep breath, and we're gonna go and listen. And it could be the worst thing. And if it ends up being, like, I've had some bad interviews, and I just go, you know what? We learn from it and we move on. I can't change it. I learned from it. There was a lot of things that I could do better. Because as a host, I take responsibility for every interview.
Right.
Like, if it goes bad, that's on me, because that's my job, right?
Yeah.
And so for people, I guess, to give a little bit of value to people who struggle with confidence, just know that, like, it all ends at some point. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
Being scared is okay. And I think acceptance is about acknowledging that what you're feeling, because we try to, like, push it away or hide it or something, like bury it.
Yeah.
And just be like, you know what? It's cool. I'm nervous. I'm a little scared. Tell somebody, they say, how you feeling? A little nervous. And they'll tell you the same thing. You know what I mean? They'll be like, it's cool.
Yeah. I love it. And I love that you talked a little bit about those instincts too, because we've had them. Like, let's be honest, you guys, like, we used to live a very different life couple 100,000 years ago, and we still have those instincts. Like, is this safe? Is this not safe? But now we're so evolved that we're in safe environments, and we know, we're looking around the room. We're like, okay, nothing's gonna hit me. Everything's okay. What are you actually nervous about? And at this point, it's judgment. I would say the scariest thing that we have to live with in 2020 is possibly something bad going viral, or a loved one dying. Okay, that's actually, let me switch that. A loved one dying, then something bad going viral. Like,
sure. Yeah, I like
there's
it.
those things that every day that happen, but we don't have to worry about, hopefully, where we're going to sleep at night, what we're eating. Like, we're more evolved than that we think a predator is just going to come into our cave and snatch us. But these are very human things to deal with. And so I like that you're talking about, like, breathing through it, or being vulnerable and telling the other person, you a little nervous? Because I am. And I'm lying. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of power in just saying, like, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Like, whew, yep, this is, like, yep, this is a big deal. That's okay. When you hear it come out of your mouth, when you write it down, it lessens its power a little bit over you. You know what I mean? I always do brain dumps, like, when I'm freaking out. Like when I've got like a million things to do, I'm stressed out, I don't know what to do. I'll write a bunch of stuff down, and what I thought was a million things in my head are like two or three.
Yeah.
And what are a million, and there's seven, right? And then I look at those seven, and I'm like, okay, I wrote it down. These are big deals, but they're manageable now.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever, especially with moms, they have so much on their plate, and I don't ever want to like lessen what you have on your plate. But when you write it down, you can manage it. And I think that's the most important thing, is being able to just manage it one at a time, chunk it out, and go. And then just this sucks, but we embrace the suck and just go.
And when you have that sense in your head, I don't know about you, I really like to say I don't want to say it on air. It's a little embarrassing, but I say something in my head to just like tell myself like, you're a badass. Like, and I just say this word to myself. Well, we'll just say it's badass. That's what it is. And I just say it over and over, and it calms my anxiety down, because even though I know I'm nervous and I can feel the shakes and everything, I will have a conversation with myself and I'm like, you dummy, what are you nervous about? Like, even if you said something goofy, anybody that's around you, and I guess let me paint the picture for you guys. In networking, you have to stand up and give like these 30-second commercials sometimes in a group of, a lot of business owners. And a lot of the time I'm sometimes the youngest business owner in these groups. And so I would have to stand up and I'm like freaking out. And I just tell myself, I'm like, what are you nervous about? If you say something weird, anybody that's around you, if they're going to laugh or chuckle or like judge you because you said something, like who's the heck is that? Like,
so I have such a funny story. It's funny, I don't know, it's humorous, because the story, the lesson that I learned at the end of it was just like that lesson, like, what are you freaking out about? So I was giving a talk one time, and this lady in the front row, like, and it was like a serious talk, like I was trying to like get some lessons across, trying to do something for real, help people. And this lady in the front row kept laughing. And I was like, it was very weird. And I was like, I saw her laughing and I would try to like justify it. And then I just kind of stopped looking at her. But I found out afterwards that she had like schizophrenia.
Oh,
like diagnosed, like real stuff like that. Right. And that's why she was like, that's why she was acting the way she was.
Yeah.
And so it was just, for me, it was a story of like, it doesn't matter what's happening, and like other people, I can't control other people, and you never know what's going on with somebody. So the quicker you can get in your head that like, it's not about you, like just keep going. If somebody's giving you feedback and we're not, you know what I mean? Kind of like this kind of feedback, it's not about you sometimes, you just need to keep going. That story taught me that when I'm presenting or when I'm giving a talk, I don't know what's going on in my audience's head. Sometimes you should know, but the point is I can't control it, and I just need to keep giving my message until it's done, and then I can figure out the rest. Because if it means somebody to me, they'll come up to me and say something. Like I've had people come up to me, hey, I didn't really like what you said, or I really liked what you said, and then we can talk. But while I'm doing that, I focus on the message. That's it.
Well, and because your brain is operating at such like you're focused on your presentation, you're getting the stuff out. So imagine if you stopped your thought process right there to focus on this person laughing at you, and you even let your brain for a second just play with it, and you're like, oh, maybe he doesn't like the content or something. It really interrupts everything that you were already on track to do. Exactly. And it had nothing to do with you, which is the funny part.
Exactly. It had nothing to do with me. And you know what? And she's a cool lady. She's awesome. But that, and it's nothing with like the illness or anything. It was the whole point of the story was just to show people like, you never know what's going on. So just keep going.
Yeah. Dalton, she probably thought about that joke from earlier and was still laughing about it.
Probably. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's just like, it's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Because a lot of weird stuff can happen, and if you get thrown off by it, it can, it could just be, it can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah. That's good. And I think to kind of put it in like a mom way, I think with our kids, we already know, like, it does matter with them. Like that is
Yeah, it
something
does.
completely
Yeah.
different. You know, we're parenting
Yeah.
and whatnot. But when it comes to, you know, as long as you're a good person and you're not out hurting anybody, you're not out selling some product
Hmm.
that's skeezy, like you
Yeah.
actually have good intentions. I don't see where somebody can go wrong with putting themselves out there. I feel like your children will
Right.
understand, your family will follow. I mean, they may tell you if your journey is entrepreneurship, you know, they may say
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy, but we don't listen to that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
again, as long as you're doing good things, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, you guys.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of important lessons that come from putting yourself out there. I think one of the best lessons. So I read the book. Oh gosh, I can't. It's like something with failure. It was like teach your kids how to fail or something like that. Like I can't remember the book exactly, but
Sounds
so I do a lot of this stuff because I think one of the most important lessons I can teach my kids is how to lose.
yeah.
Um, because that's okay. Like they'll see me do something I shouldn't do, and I always acknowledge it because I'm not perfect. Um, but like I always do that and help my wife with that because if you fail, like I think that's one of the best lessons that you can give your kids is like how to lose and how to fail because it's gonna happen. And the wins pay for the losses every time. So if you can teach them how to learn from failure and grow from losses and do all these things, like they'll eventually win. You'll eventually win, and that'll pay for all the losses. And again, it's about acceptance. Like you're gonna lose, you're gonna fail, not a big deal. Let's just, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
all right. You never, one of my favorite, like I love Grant Cardone, and he had like a big closing book. And I learned this close. I never used it on anybody because it was way too aggressive. Um, but I learned a lot of life skills from it. And he was like, one of the things he said was, "It's not going to kill you. You're not going to die from it." You know.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
it was something about money. Like you should spend it. Well, it's not going to kill you. Like I would never say that to a customer. But what I did learn from it was like, it's true though. Like if you're going through a struggle, if you're going through a failure, like 99% of the time, it's not going to kill you. You're not going to die from it. We're
And
going to learn from it and keep going.
if you're one of those people hearing advice and you're like, well, actually, and you
Yeah.
think of all these, like, then you know that you have a pessimistic problem. Like there's something
Yeah, you do.
address that. But
Yeah, you
and
do.
that's why like everything is so I said this on your show. Like I feel like social
Yeah.
media and the internet is a lifesaver for humans. I think that it is actually
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
a good thing.
and the social dilemma we talked about, it literally holds the psyche to people. It's a very big
Yeah.
thing. It's crazy.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool.
And so that's like I love that we just now have all these different outlets to, if you specifically need to look into something that is going on with your child, well, now you probably have somebody that went through it that was brave enough to put out their story. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're struggling with it, like I don't know, maybe you went through abuse or maybe you just have a
Yeah.
special needs child or something and you just want to kind of share your experience, you might actually be a lifesaver for just even one person. And in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
that's very worth it.
Yeah. Well, I think we forgot about social media. Like we can choose who to follow and we can choose who to unfollow. And like, or the bigger lesson for me is like learn how to just like, I think the biggest lesson you can learn from social media is that you really can't control what other people do.
Yeah.
like, so don't like, I don't get in, like, I have friends on every spectrum that you can think of. Like I'm religious. So I have people like super far religious. I have people, I'm also friends with a lot of people who believe other beliefs or are not religious at all. I have people on both political spectrums. So like, I don't even argue on Facebook anymore, but it allows me to like, when somebody posts anything, I can be like, oh, okay, cool. Like I understand that. Right. Or I don't really get to choose what they post. Right. So like, why should it affect me? So I'm very I approach social media very stoically. Like, like
Well, because your time is valuable. Like how
Yeah,
if
man.
you
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
upset by something, and even more so, the social media, the algorithms are set to put something in front of you that will keep you engaged. It's not like
Right.
whether it makes you happy or mad, like they don't really care. If you
Yeah.
get mad and you
Engage
talk
with it.
and comment a lot, you're probably going to see a lot more of that because the algorithms now know how to get you going.
Engage. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so true. I don't know. I'll very rarely post like a comment unless it's like helpful. Like I'll post some helpful stuff or like funny stuff. But that's what I'm saying. Like I think we can grow in maturity with social media.
Right.
And I think that's where its power lies. Is
Yeah.
how to be
Oh,
mature. You can't control what other people do. You can learn a lot. And then you can share your stories.
yeah.
And I think that's what you do, man.
I
Just
love it.
just tell people what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love, so earlier, yeah, you mentioned like life is kind of just hard and you're going, you just take it is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
don't be mad about stuff, guys. I feel like traffic, like every day. Let's be real.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Traffic is like I was stuck in traffic for like an hour and a half yesterday, and then my gas light came on, and I was like, I can make it because I always plan out like this gas station is on this side of the road, and then I can like right hand turn, like I
Yeah, yeah.
mechanically plan out all of it. And I was stuck,
Right.
and I get up here, and I was like, oh my gosh, the gas station that I planned on is closed. And where I was at on this freeway thing, it was way out of my way to go to the next but it was the nearest gas station. And I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
but there's so much traffic. It's like, if I hop off this on ramp or the off ramp now, like I know I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get back, but I called my significant other and was just like, look, I'm going to run out of gas and that's going to ruin my day. So you just breathe, take it. I'm not even
Plan.
mad
Yeah.
about it. And when I got home, I didn't talk about it. I didn't like let it feed my day. And
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
have friends in the beginning of my 20s that they used to just like Snapchat, like traffic jam or red light or, oh my gosh, guess what I did? And I feel like this is
Yeah.
actually something you learn in the call centers, because in call centers, you have to have thick skin to just get yelled at and
Yeah, man.
kind of deal with a lot. And as long as you don't turn
Yeah.
to your partner and talk about that bad phone call, you're probably going to forget about the bad phone call.
For sure. For sure. Well, and they forget about it too.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention to it. And
Well,
so,
I would call
yeah.
them to yell at customer service has got some, like, calm down, guys.
Yeah, seriously. And you never know how someone's day is going. So that's why that's where my whole thought process came from about this whole acceptance and not control.
Yeah.
Because that's where confidence comes from. Like if you realize like crap's gonna hit the fan, regardless of what you do, doesn't matter what you do, and you can learn to accept that, not in like a life, like not in a way that, because people get this word wrong all the time. Like they think acceptance means I gotta let life beat the crap out of me, or like acceptance like I don't I have a lot of friends on, like I said, on every spectrum, and I accept all my friends. Doesn't matter what they believe in, doesn't matter what they do. And people think that acceptance also means like agree with, right? But I don't have to like you and I could have very different political views or views on anything else, and we can accept each other and just know that like we're each our own person and we can grow together, and we can podcast and talk about things that we do agree on. But like we don't have to agree on everything, but we can accept each other and move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so people get that word mixed up. And so in that case, and in the case of life, like something bad happened, accept it. That doesn't mean you let life kick you around and beat you up. It
Right.
just means that you can't change it. So
Yeah.
I need to work with what I got. I need to play the cards that I have and not try to change my cards or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get a lot happier. You get a lot more confidence. You get a lot more like momentum when you're just like, yep, crap hit the fan. Cool, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. I love that. I love that. Where are we?
Yeah.
I'm blind. Today, I tried not to wear my glasses today, and I'm regretting it a little bit.
Oh, no worries.
There's always the little glare on it. And so I'm just trying something new.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Um, okay, so yeah, we have about 20 minutes left. I want to cover a little bit, like, where did you start the podcast? Like, did you start in audio? Did you start on YouTube? What did you?
Yeah, I started in audio first. Although I recorded all my stuff, I was pretty nervous about putting stuff on YouTube. Mostly because I didn't know how to edit the video. So I had to learn how to edit the video. And now I just do like very minor editing. And
Nice.
so now they're all on YouTube. But it started just audio, just us,
Nice. But
just audio.
you figured it out. And as you
Yeah.
started, I mean, I guess this is kind of a silly question. Like, what did you do? Did you like Google like how to start a podcast? Like, where did you start with that?
I was on a podcast. I love the local MMA scene and the local jiu-jitsu scene. Actually, I started jiu-jitsu because of my daughter. My daughter is knows how to defend herself now, and she's 5. 4.
Nice.
Sorry, she's 4. But she knows the basic stuff. That's why I started it. A lot of women's self-defense stuff. It's really cool. My wife knows a little bit too. So anyway, I got on a podcast, a local MMA podcast, and I loved it, dude. I was like, man, I can do this. That's when I was like, I can do this. I think I can do this, man. We can kill it. So I just started. I got some equipment, and then I just figured it out as I go. Like I said, dude, I've made a lot of mistakes, but it's good now. Like now I feel like I got most of the kinks worked out, and now just rolling.
Nice. Yeah, we have like 45-ish videos on our YouTube channel now, and I can definitely say like they all look a little different. You can definitely tell like how we started and what the editing was, and we had different people on the team. And then that person left, and then the editing style changes a little bit until we finally was like, okay, we got this locked and solid. But we had I mean, in our scenario, we came from, hey, we're in person and tickets and this and that, and we're going to host this content live. And then it was like, oh, we're not, we're going to do this. So it was very fast switch. But I, like we talked about earlier, like get going, like get started.
Yeah. My friend also so I was on that local podcast, and then I have a really close friend of mine who produces his wife's podcast. That's a pretty big one here. It's actually about moms too, but they're a big one. So they were another big inspiration. They helped me get all the right equipment and do the right stuff. So it was good though.
Nice. See, so that's another similarity that I have in stories is people say they go ask somebody else how they did it.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. Like another confidence thing, especially like, in the mom world, is they feel like a lot of people feel like, if I ask somebody, they're not going to give it to me, or they might treat me differently if I ask, right? And that's definitely not the case. I have found that I've been told no on a guest opportunity, or when I need help, I've been told no like very few times.
Right.
Like I would say statistically you're more likely to get exactly what you're looking for than not when you ask somebody.
But how many times in my head did I tell myself, they might not help me, and it kept me from asking?
Right.
I've done that plenty. So yeah, it's good. But then when I finally get out there and do it, I'm like, oh, I thought like 5 people, only 1 person was weirded out about it. All right.
Yeah. I mean, and then like you're good. And the dude who was the person who was weirded out might have been having a bad day or whatever, and whatever.
Yeah.
Not my problem. Nothing I have control over.
That's such a good, because honestly, I see people doing some sketchy things in the drive-through. Maybe they're not pulling up, or maybe they're doing something weird. Yeah. And all I tell myself is, I have no idea. Maybe they lost a loved one. Like I don't know what that person's going through. Maybe his girlfriend just cheated on him. Like I really never know. Yeah.
And what if you went through life believing that everybody was doing the best that they could? I mean, how would that change what you think about? How would that change how you treat them? Well, when I heard that question first proposed to me by Brene Brown in a book that I read of hers, it changed my life forever. I was like, holy crap, yeah. How easy would it be to live with myself knowing that everybody's just doing the best that they can? And I'm not perfect at it. I still get road rage. I still get really, I'm still very aggressive, and so I got a lot of work to do, but I try.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I try, dude. It's hard, but I try.
Yeah, I feel like that's all we can do is humans.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like a lot of moms feel like that too. You know what I mean? We judge ourselves really hard.
Yeah.
We're our biggest critic. And I would just say, like, then repeat to ourselves. I repeat to myself too, like, I'm just trying the best that I can, and I'm getting better every day. And I accept that some days my best isn't as good as other days, but it's cool because we're learning, right? I think it's about the learning the lessons and not really the results.
Yeah. And I'm sure, you go you go through this as a father. Having kids is life-changing, and having somebody rely on you. And I'm not sure if you felt this adding on a second child to the equation. But just 2 kids is a lot. Just 1 kid is a lot. And 4 kids is a lot. And I think that moms, we do have a very, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. How do I say this right? Like sacrifice, like we just sacrifice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We kind of go through this weird identity change.
Yeah.
In a sense. And I'm not sure if you go through this as a dad. You're like, oh, I'm taking care of somebody. I'm an influence now. Like I have to worry about and even when you're at work, and even with grandma or something, like, if you get into a car accident, you have people that you're living for. Like it's this mental switch that comes with all of it. But it is important that we remind ourselves that people every day have kids. People have been living with children and figuring out how to give themselves to their kids and give themselves to the rest of the world. And I think it's important to find your balance with your family on what that can mean and what you can actually give, because starting a podcast, if it's something that you're truly passionate about, it's probably not going to bring in $100,000 a year. And you think, you see all these cool influencers doing these things, and that's not really how it works. You might be better off, maybe Googling, how do I make $100,000 super fast? It might be selling solar. Like you have no idea. If that's truly your goal. But if your goal is to give back and start a podcast, whatever that entails, just be prepared for it, because that's, sorry, kind of got off. I mixed my tangents a little bit.
Yeah. You're good though.
Giving, like I said, giving that sacrifice to your kids, I feel like starting a new business, especially in the sense of a podcast where it's just giving stuff back, it is very pay it forward.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like when you put stuff out into the universe, that it comes back. Eventually it comes back. Well, and here's the other thing is, like, that's not why I do it either. Like, I don't expect anything back. I just appreciate the chance that I get to use whatever little platform I have to just help people. And I've had a lot of people come on who really gained a lot of confidence just from being on a podcast, just from like, dude, somebody asking me, right? Or they asked me and I said yes, right? Like I rarely say no to a deal. For a podcast opportunity. It might be, down the road because we're booked out a little bit, but I'll never say no for the most part.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to plug your podcast in really fast. So the Thinking Project.
Yes, the Thinking Project.
Dalton, you're awesome. I don't know your wife super well, but I think she's awesome.
She's awesome.
I love what you're doing because again, like I said, I think it's very pay it forwardy, and everybody in life should just be doing what makes them happy. Like, I love hearing stories and talking and hosting stories. That's great. I knew that my views aligned with, giving back to people, and that's great. But like, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's draining when I hear a sad story. But at the end of it, I'm pumped, and I'm like, heck yeah. Like, I can't wait to get that content out and somebody can relate to that story and hear it and go forward, and it's great. So.
Yeah, heck yeah. I love it.
But if you're happy making 100,000, 200, a bajillion, whatever you're happy with, that's what you go towards.
That's what you do. Yep. It's awesome. Exactly. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so thinking project, or I guess, can I ask, you started on Anchor? Is that where you?
So Anchor is the hosting platform.
Okay.
But you can listen to it wherever. Like iTunes is a big one. iTunes, that's funny. Everybody's trying to like be the new iTunes, but there's nothing like iTunes. And you know why iTunes is killing it? Because they have reviews. That's why everybody listens to their stuff on iTunes. It's super weird.
So does no other podcasting platform have reviews?
I mean, think about it. The big ones don't. Spotify doesn't. Pocket Cast doesn't. Overcast doesn't have reviews at all. I don't know Google a whole lot. Google might. I don't listen to my podcast on Google, but like Anchor doesn't. Podbean doesn't. Like leaving a review, like 5-star,
like an actual star. Yeah, like YouTube's not doing that. You can leave comments, but
you can leave comments on YouTube and stuff like that. But like actual reviews, like you can write it, people can see it, people can see what other people think about your podcast before they do it. iTunes is the only one. Like you can subscribe everywhere, like follow, subscribe, whatever. But no one else has reviews.
Nice.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, think about all the places that kill it.
Yeah.
I went on a little tangent here, but think about every place that absolutely crushes retail. They all have reviews.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Amazon, Walmart, Target. You go in Walmart and Target, and there's reviews next to the product. The little sticker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if anybody wants to take over Apple, they're gonna have to do some kind of review.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. That just.
Yeah, man. I mean, really. I could be wrong, but like the major ones. So the big ones are the big podcast ones are Apple, Spotify, Pocket Cast, maybe Overcast, Google. Google's a big one, and I don't know Google, but Apple's the only one out of all the rest of those. Well, think about it. Spotify's trying to take over the world. They bought Anchor. I didn't know they bought Anchor. They bought Anchor, and they bought Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, I knew that.
They also bought the Michelle Obama. So they're buying specific original podcasts.
Huh.
And I don't know why they haven't implemented a review system, because that's the only thing I don't know, man. They're not. I don't think they're going to take over Apple without.
Got some business advice for them. Get on the reviews.
Dude, yeah. I think if you can centralize a review, here's an entrepreneur idea that I'll never be able to do, but I'll give it away. If you could centralize podcast reviews, you would make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like
a kayak thing, like you compare the flights or something, but do it.
Yeah. If you can centralize podcast reviews, you will kill and be credible about it. So credibility, open source, podcasting reviews.
That's a great.
You will be a millionaire before. Well, there's a million different podcasts. Yeah. And if you can get, and I think there's some places that are trying to do it, but they're just not credible. Like there's not a lot of people getting involved with it. It'd be really tough. It'd be a tough one. You'd have to be in it for the long haul, but if you could do it, you'd make millions for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and just like we know how effective reviews are. Like I can't.
They're everything.
Especially people who like to like you. I feel like there is a certain kind of character who likes digging in for reviews and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, and it's just a subconscious thing, man. Like, I had a bad review on my podcast, and I saw kind of like, and it was a dumb one.
Nice.
Like it was not a real review. It was one of those like trolls.
Oh.
Like there was you could tell like in the review, it just said, the review said something like, because it's a 1-star podcast, right? Like no reason why,
No.
wasn't because I said something they didn't like or anything. You could tell they didn't listen to it, but it still like affects your rating.
Yeah.
It affects everything. So I had to get like 10 or 15 more to like bury it, like real authentic reviews.
Yeah.
And then my podcast went back up in the charts, and
Yeah.
it was good.
That's,
I don't know. It's weird, man.
that
There you go.
happened to me one time. Reviews are, and it's so funny because like on some products, and the people looking at reviews, when it's a good product, you're gonna have the higher stars, and then you can kind of scroll down, and someone will be like, "Oh, it delivered and it wasn't handled well" or something, and I'm like, okay, is that actually like the product's fault that
or is it yours?
The handlers, or something like that? Like when I can tell it was kind of a troll comment.
Yeah. Reviews are crazy, man. And that's what happens. It's so weird. Freaking reviews. But that's why, but then people realize too, like when you get more reviews back up and when you get the bad ones off, like then you just, I don't know, some weird happens, then you just skyrocket.
Yeah. And it really makes you so, I mean, to you little trollers out there, or to people leaving a review, you give the person a chance to fix it. Like in my scenario, my reviews weren't real, but if I had ever done something for somebody and the photos were blurry or something, like I would really want another chance to either fix it or to refund your money or
just make something right. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, I see products too, and sometimes, you're not, this is Six Sigma, right? Like you can if you make 1,000 products, one of them might be not up to par, and like 1 out of 1,000 isn't really that bad. But the companies with the good reviews will go in and fix it.
Right.
And that's what makes the difference, right? That's why they still have good reviews. And so you can fix those. Like, if we can fix it, let's fix it. But I get what you're saying. It's crazy.
And that's where the companies with the store, because it comes down to who the owner is, and go hear their story, because their company going to have those ethics bleeding down all the way to their customer service, hopefully. So
yeah.
Cool.
It's so true. There you go.
Well, thanks for being on my show today, Dalton.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah. It's really great, Des.
Kind of selfish question, because it's Halloween and this is coming out a few weeks later, so sorry guys. What's your guys' Halloween costumes?
Okay, my daughter is Doc McStuffins.
Oh my gosh.
That's the girl doctor. And my son wanted to be a dragon, so he's a dragon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Doc McStuffins has a pet dragon too in the show.
I think so. Yeah, I think
That's
so.
Great.
I think they did like a whole thing together. It was cool.
Super cute. Okay, well, thank you again so much for being here. You guys check out
absolutely.
The Thinking Project.
Yep.
Podcast, YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah. Where else do we find you on the website?
You can. I don't have a website yet, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is probably the easiest, at Dalton K Jensen.
Okay.
And then you can follow everywhere.
Perfect. And we'll have all his information linked below. So thanks you guys
for
listening.
Okay, see ya.
Bye, Dalton.